Welcome back. In earlier lecture, we understood clearly about volumes. So in this lecture, we'll also discuss about volumes as well as an important thing about environment variables. How to pass environment variables to containers. Let us see with a practical example. I want to start a container with MySQL database. Let us see if there is any image already for MySQL in Docker Hub. I'm searching for MySQL. This is the MySQL image, official MySQL image. I'll go into it. Okay. Here, actually, if you see for this MySQL, there are a lot of Docker files already with various versions. With whatever version you want, you can actually pull that particular image and use it. So, for example, I want to use version 8.0.32. Okay. So, first of all, let's say Docker images. Is there MySQL image? Yes. Okay. The tag is latest. Now, I want an image tagged with 8.0.32. So, what I can do is I can say Docker pull MySQL colon 8.0.32. If I don't give the version, it will pull the latest version. One of the version, you can see it is latest. This will be pulled. Okay. So actually already I have pulled MySQL where I got the latest version. Suppose if I want to pull this 8.0.12, I have to use MySQL colon 8.0.12. Let me pull it. So download it. Actually 8.0.32 is nothing but same as the tagged one latest. Now if I say Docker images, is there a new MySQL? Oh yeah, there is one more new MySQL, but it was downloaded very quickly, right? I guess there are minor differences between this version and the latest version, so it got downloaded very quickly as well. Okay, fine. Now let us see the documentation. How to start? See, starting a MySQL image is as simple as using Docker run MySQL. If I don't specify the version, it will use the latest, let it be. But once MySQL server starts, what is the password, root password for logging in? We don't know, right? So while starting, I should be able to pass tell, okay, I am going to use this as root password and what database to be created. I also want to give that. So all that information, how to pass such things is given in the documentation. We always have to look at the documentation on how to use a particular image. Here, how to use this image, they're saying while running you can use -e option to pass environment variable. The this MySQL image looks for some environment variables. One of the environment variable is MySQL underscore root underscore password. What all are the other environment variables? Actually, if I go down in the document, it will show the environment variables which we can pass. MySQL root password, MySQL database, MySQL username password if you want, allow empty password. These are all the options we can pass. So I want to actually start a container and pass environment variable MySQL root password as well as the database MySQL underscore database. I want database to be automatically created. So let us see how we can run that. So for this particular Docker run command, I will use I would give a name to my container. If I don't give a name to my container, a random name will be given. I'll use dash dash name is equals to Siva MySQL. This is the name to my container. And I want to pass environment variables -e. There are standard environment variables according to the image documentation. MySQL underscore root underscore password is equals to I'll give root. And I want one more environment variable, MySQL underscore database. MySQL underscore database is equals to, I'll say Siva DB. Okay, fine. Now let us start it. I want it to run in foreground. I'm not using hyphen D option. Let us run it. So MySQL server started. Fine. Now, yeah. Now Docker PS, if I run, yes, MySQL server is running. So fine. Let us see display Docker volume ls. So these are all the predefined volumes. Actually, why I typed volumes is by default MySQL database will store some data, right? Where it should store. So suppose if my SQL database is running within a container as usual, this is my host machine, and if MySQL database is running here, whatever data stored, MySQL will be writing files, right? The data will be written in the upper layer. So whatever data is written in the upper layer will be gone if the container crashes. If you want the data to be persisted, or if you don't want the data to be lost when the container shuts down, what you could have to do, you have to mount a volume, you have to create a volume and mount it onto some folder where MySQL writes it. Let us see whether mounting is there or not. Let us see first of all. Docker inspect. First of all, yeah, Docker inspect. This is a container ID 430. Docker container inspect. Sorry, Docker container inspect 430. This is the container ID. Or even I could give Siva MySQL, the container name, Siva MySQL. Yeah, it is giving all these details. So let us see if there are any volumes actually bound. Mm, mm, you can see this is the image. Here host configs bindings are null. It is saying I don't see any volumes added till now. This is it is showing these are lower directories, upper directories, all this. And yeah, you can see mounts here. Wait, where is that mount? I saw it somewhere. Yeah, mounts. There's a volume mount. What is the volume name? It is starting with 977. Okay. So Docker volume ls. Is there anything starting with 977? Yes, this volume. This volume is actually created, the one and starting with 977, and it is mount. See here, mounts. A volume, amount of time volume is created, and this is the name of the volume, and it is mounted onto slash var. This is the actual source, and the destination is what? Slash var slash lib slash MySQL. So a default volume is created and is bound to this path under the container slash var slash lib slash MySQL. And by default, the MySQL will store all the data in under this slash var slash lib slash MySQL. Okay. Now, what if I stop my container docker rm? I'm removing rm dash f Siva MySQL. Okay. Now, if I do a docker volume ls, will that volume be there? 977. See, the volume is there even if the container is removed. The volume is still there. So whenever I'm starting another new container, suppose if I want to start one more MySQL, what I will do is, oh, wait, I think on the other window I started it. Yes. On the other window, what I will do is again I will execute the same command. So what will happen now? Will it bind to the same volume ending with 977? Let us see. Actually now, Docker. Hey, I used the same name. Okay, fine. Docker inspect. Docker container inspect. Container inspect Siva MySQL. Let us see the mounts now. I'll go up. See the mount name is starting with B64. It was on somewhere around 987 or so earlier. Now it is another mount. Oh, every time I start MySQL, it is actually starting a new, creating a new volume and mounting it. I don't want a new volume to be created every time. I want the same volume. So what I can do is, when starting itself, I can specify the volume name. So I will again stop docker rm -f Siva MySQL. Okay, let it be removed. Fine, I got the console back here. Now, while launching the Docker container, I can even specify the volume by using -v. Okay, -v. According to the document, you can see, according to the documentation, -v, I can specify my volume. -v, I'll say Siva MySQL volume colon. I want to bind this volume to /var/lib/MySQL. I know according to the document, that is the folder in which the MySQL will be writing its data. Okay, so let me run this. Fine, it will start in another terminal. Let me write docker volume ls. Is there a volume with name Siva MySQL volume created? Yes, and this will be mounted. So this time what I will do is I will write docker container inspect Siva MySQL. That is the container name I gave. Pipe to more. Okay. So I want to slowly go through the mounts. Uh, Here it is saying Siva MySQL is bound to this path. This is a binding. And let's see the mounts. Is there a mount or not? Um, just pressing enter. Yes. Is there a volume created and mounted? Yes. So this is the source and this is the target. Now, whenever I am creating another container, what I could do is again, I could actually mount the same volume with name Siva MySQL. So the data will not be lost. In case my MySQL server crashes, again when running MySQL, I will use same -v command. So the data will not be lost, and this new container also will use same folder, right? That's how we can use volumes. Okay. So in this example, I showed you how to actually look at environment variables, how to pass environment variables by using -e option. And also I told you how you can refer to documentation and understand how to use a particular image and about versioning as well. Okay. So in next lecture, we'll understand about networking, Docker networking, how to work with networks. Let us see. I'll see you next video.